Hello and welcome to another super exciting LEGO Ultra Mega Massive build. It's episode 10. We're still on like bag, I want to say 7. I can see 8 and no signs of anything further. And we're building this large thing, so that's where we're at. Just jump in immediately with this plate, which I think goes here. There we go. The first bit's always the trickiest. Once you nail that, then you can sort of go full steam ahead after that. He says, immediately slowing down. So I'm putting lots of small little details onto this thing here, and I've decided the best way to do it is to find all the individual pieces first and then put them on. There's two methods of Lego, isn't there? There's find the pieces you need and put them on, or find one piece at a time and put it on one piece at a time. There's really no other option as far as I'm aware. Anything that's different is really just a combo or bit of each of them, isn't it? Right, I've got all the bits. Now how does it actually manifest? Not in the most easy to read fashion. Made a huge error apparently last week after recording this. It's currently Friday. I think I recorded the last one of these on a Saturday. Last Saturday, obviously. Never turned my microphone off. It's just been on all week, possibly draining the battery. I don't know. It's battery operated. I've got the. This is the battery housing here. There's like about a metre long wire goes from this to me, and then a incredibly long one goes from this to the camera, and that's got batteries in it. I forget exactly what kind, but if memory serves, they're the kind of, I want to call it a button cell battery that you would get in not watches, but like one size up from that. I want to say a laser pen, but that's not something that has a standard size battery to it. But basically, it's not an easy type of battery to replace on a whim. You'd have to buy it. You wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't have one. How does that go? That goes in like that. So I was convinced when I saw that. I was like, oh, I've definitely drained the battery. That's it. Because I was, before I even put it on, I was thinking, how long is this battery going to last for? Because I've had this microphone probably a couple of years now. I don't use it that often, and it's the same battery that it came with. So it's one of those things. And the trouble is, when it goes, it will just go, and the audio will cut out one day on a video, and I dread that day. Hopefully it will be on something short and insignificant. More likely it will be on something long and insignificant. Right. No, I'm trying to spot piece by piece what I need. I should look ahead at the instructions, get all the bits first, and then attach them. It's a much better method of doing it. So what's happened between now and last episode? Anything major? It was E3. That's quite big as an event, isn't it? That's one of the biggies for video games. I'd say it's the biggest, actually, arguably. So I don't know if there's anything more at all, really. I wasn't fussed at all about E3, and then one day I suddenly thought, when is E3? And I looked and it's like, oh, it's coming up soon. It's like next week. And then I thought nothing more of it. And then one night I went to bed fairly early, like 10ish. It was still light out, or like fairly light out. It wasn't pitch black. And I just saw it was on, so I thought, you know what, I might just sit and watch an E3 live stream. Like it was the first conference, which I believe was EA. I don't know what I'm saying. I know it was EA. It was the EA conference. I watched it. I was there. I wasn't there. Okay, so I'm still one bit short here. Doing this helps. I would pat my legs, but that'll make bad noise on the microphone. There we go. Found it. It was hidden under the book. Yes, I thought, yeah, I'll sit in bed, I'll watch the EA conference, and I'll also play play a bit of Darkest Dungeon on Switch, which is it. I don't know if it's my most played game on Switch yet, but it's getting up there. I can't get enough of that game. It's just fantastic. I don't know if I'd be into it on a non-handheld, but on that I'm devouring it. I'm looking forward to the next DLC. I got the first two they put out, or one was more of an expansion and one was more of a DLC. I would term them as, but that's a great game. So I started with the EA conference. I watched it via Rooster Teeth stream, so you get a bit of chat beforehand instead of looking at a timer. Then every now and again, over the actual conference, when something dumb would happen, you just hear their commentary pipe up a bit, and then discussion afterwards, reactions, that sort of thing. I feel it's a sensible way to do it. You don't want anything too heavy happening live during it. That's key. These nipples. And what a that it was like the standard of E3 for me was that EA one, where I don't know if you've watched it. It wasn't a good conference in my opinion. It was there was a lot of awkwardness. There was a moment where they didn't announce what game they were doing. They just brought out two. Apparently they were esports commentators or shoutcasters, as people in the field call them. I've picked a piece up, but it's not actually a piece I need, and it's thrown me off. Yeah, they brought out these two shoutcasters, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got a hot new game for you. We're going to bring two competitors in here," and then they bring in like these two esports celebrity types. And I'm watching, I was like, "Who the hell are these people?" And they came on, and now to be fair to them, I suspect they were given like fairly heavy instructions or scripts that they were supposed to follow, but these weren't like charismatic people on stage. I don't think you can be overly, but at the same time, it's like you better be bloody good at playing your video games, because you ain't making a career of being liked afterwards. Says the nobody. And then they had them play this mobile game just live, and it was turned out to be like Command and Conquer, which no one was happy about, because it's like a shitty mobile game. No one gives a shit. I think the only acceptable mobile game ever at E3 is probably Fallout Shelter, because it was free. It came out then, and it was like, well yeah, Fallout 4 is coming out. Here's Fallout Shelter. And to be fair to Fallout Shelter, it's a pretty good game. It's fun enough, and there's very little bullshit in it for a mobile game. There's obviously some bullshit, but not an egregious amount, in my opinion, which is the only opinion that matters. Right, so that goes on there, and this clips onto here in a strangely pleasing fashion. It's a significant amount of detailing on this. How does that? Oh, it goes on like that. Totally wrong. And the thing about EA is, like, I was going into it, I was thinking, what does EA have that I'm interested in? I was thinking, it's like, well, they don't do Mass Effect anymore. I don't play any sports games. I'm not. Well, what do they do? They Battlefield, don't they? Yeah, Battlefield is a big one. I'm not really interested in Battlefield. I've always wanted to be, but whenever it comes out, I just can't be bothered. And it's one of those games where I feel like to enjoy it, you have to get into it and play it a lot. And I don't know if I would. I've done that step. 6 of these, right? And I was curious about Anthem, because I quite like the name, honestly. Just saying it aloud is pleasing. And they saved all that for the end, and it was a fucking weird thing they did. They had the bird who wrote the game come on and talk about it a lot. And it struck me as like she's probably only spoken about Anthem, like the story and the writing of it, which is obviously like more than just story. It's like setting and history and mechanics to a certain extent. She's obviously only ever really spoken about that in the past 6 months to like her development team and stuff, and people who kind of know what they're on about, because like she's in there and she's talking. It's like, this is a world the gods have given up on, but everything can hear the anthem of creation in their mind. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? None of this makes any sense. And then they just doubled down on that. And the gameplay, I don't know. I don't know if it looks good or not, to be honest. I like the idea of everyone being in Iron Man suits. That's cool. But that sort of thing, it all depends on like how much of it is based on what you do before you get in a fight versus what you do in a fight. For example, when you come across a big monster to kill, if you're... does it just matter on your level and stats? Is your actual skill at the game a factor? Is it all just cooldowns and such? What's the deal, you know? It's very hard to get that right, and even harder is getting it. It's different for different games, and people like different things. If they can match Monster Hunter, brilliant. That's job done. Go home. But they ain't gonna do that. Okay, made that. That's needs a little one of these things on it. Very pleasing texture to that. If you had a hell of an itch, that would do you well. So far I've been very good in reading ahead on the steps and getting what I need. And on this piece, I just gave up on that, and I've gone in blind, and it's done me well. Ah, bloody jump cut. I'm sure I was talking about Anthem before I was interrupted by the entirety of the world's delivery men. All right, that could be right. Yeah, so that might be interesting when it comes out. It's very early. It's hard to tell kind of what the game even remotely is at this point. But it is BioWare. I do like BioWare, so cautiously optimistic. They did an update on Star Wars Battlefront 2, which as far as I can tell was saying we're sorry, but we're not really changing anything major. Apparently they've gotten rid of a lot of the microtransaction stuff, but from what I heard when that came out, the big problem there was that like without the microtransactions, there was even less of a game there. So I don't know, which is a shame, but that franchise is gone to me. There were the first two, which I liked, played them a lot, and the second two I doubt I'll ever touch, which is a shame because they look great, but other than that, they don't appeal to me. There was EA's conference. It's like a standard conference. There was nonsense in there. Nothing. There wasn't anything major. I didn't think they had. Was it Unravel 2? Were they the ones that said? And it's out now. I forget. To be honest. They all blend together. The conferences. That's the trouble. I reckon Ubisoft was next, or Ubisoft, or any other pronunciation that they'll come up with. That's one of my favourite parts of E3 actually. Is you learn pronunciations for certain things and you're like, oh, so that's how that's pronounced. A big one I remember, I think it was last year, was the makers of Minecraft, who I thought were called Mojang. It's like Mojang. It's called Mojang. It's a soft J. It's like, oh, that's a new one. Which granted, I want to say they're Scandinavian, possibly Swedish. So yeah, that's fair enough. But it's just, I'd never heard that before. I was like, how have I never heard that? Surely at some point someone official has said the company's name and it's, someone of note has heard that and says, yes, I'm going to pronounce it correctly as well. What do I remember about Ubisoft? They had a Just Dance sequence, which I only ever hear about Just Dance at E3 every year. I'm told it's a big selling franchise, but I don't know anyone who plays it. But that's probably more the sort of people I know, more than anything else. But it's one of those games. It comes out every year. Presumably, it makes them a lot of money. And there was a dancing panda, which yeah, it's great. Have a bit of music in your E3 presentation. More power to you. There was a very funny bit about Trials, I remember. That was the guy coming. He comes on a motorbike, which at first I thought, okay, yeah, that's a bit much. I don't buy it. And then you see the guy and the sort of the presence and charisma he has, and the fact that it was fucking funny. He like bails into a TV at one point, and it almost didn't feel real because of the way the cabinet it was on just got shattered into so many bits. So that was very enjoyable. That's a game series I have nothing to do with. I don't play it. I've got no interest in it. It's one of them that I see why people like it. I don't mind watching it, like Let's Plays and what have you. But it's one where I just can't be arsed with that entire genre. Unless I'm doing it by accident in something like GTA or Just Cause. That's the one where I'm more likely to be doing that. No, Just Cause 4, that came out. Even though I'm sure that game was not announced, but they like filed the patent for it 7 years ago or something. Like it was a huge. Well, it wasn't a huge. It was a story at the time because it was like they've got like the trademarks or whatever for Just Cause 4 and 5 before 3 had come out, like long before it had come out. Subsequently, me and my friends would always joke about playing consecutively higher Just Causes. It's like I was about to get into Just Cause 12 when Just Cause 13 got released. I was like, nah, screw that. I might as well play 15 since it's out tomorrow. That's the whole joke. Two of them, a wedge. I'm confused because I'm pretty sure it's this bit I need, but the dimension looks wrong. I'll assume it's correct though. They probably wouldn't do that, would they? No, they wouldn't do that to me. I can trust them that far at least. I'm sure I remember liking Ubisoft for some reason, but I can't think why now. There was The Division, which I did Division 2 in fact. I didn't care about the first one. I kind of like the idea of it, but it's such a boring sort of theme for that style of game. Make it sci-fi fantasy like Destiny. Make it sci-fi like Borderlands. Make it fantasy, but just going right sort of a little bit futuristic, but not quite fully. So like armor in that game is just big bits of metal people are strapping to themselves. Things like that. It's just not. It's all right, but it's a bit meh for me. As a saying. Also, what the hell is Tom Clancy doing with that? Why has that got his name on it? I know he's dead, but did he? I want to put this thing on there. I haven't hooked up any of the stuff it attaches to yet. What else did Ubisoft have? Were there any? There's nothing that's sort of springing to attention. No. Is that? No, that's fine. I thought the foot had come off there, but it's just the angle I was looking at. It's all good. No one panic. I think my favourite conference was Bethesda's. They had a skit that at the time I greatly enjoyed about a guy playing Skyrim on his Amazon Echo. I was going to say Alexa, but I thought that would just trigger someone's Alexa, as I just have. Which I found that very funny, very very in on the joke. They showed stuff for Fallout 76 or 78. I want to say 76, but now that I'm committed to trying to remember that sounds wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 76. 300 years since the since America, which was 1776, birth of a nation. Yeah, it's Fallout 76 definitely. Or is it? That looks pretty good to me actually. It's pretty clear to me it's in like the Fallout 4. I don't want to say engine because I don't know enough about that, but the Fallout 4 engine. It looks very similar to that, like the New Vegas, if you will, to Fallout 3, or the Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time. Let's see, got them, got that, got those two. Oh, we're all set. I can actually put some bits on. And they seem to reassure you that it will have multiplayer, but you can play it single player, and there won't be a massive amount of people in a map, which is 4 times as big as Fallout 4, which I've been playing again recently and very much enjoying. I've been playing a very dumb melee-only character, which it's a different spin on how I'd normally play. I've also been modding it a lot, which adds greatly to the enjoyment. Nice. Oh, and then this attaches to this somehow. That's better. Rage intrigues me, not because I have any interest in the franchise, Rage 2 I should say, but I liked Doom, so if they're anything alike, which they kind of look similar, but Rage just looks like it's more open-y with vehicles. I like vehicle combat. It could be the sort of game I'm greatly intrigued by. It depends on, just what it actually is in the end. So that's all sorted. Now I set that aside and build a new project using some delightful red. There's an expansion to Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus. It's called the new like series because it was New Order, and then I think New Colossus was second, the most recent one, whatever. It's like a co-op expansion, which is that's great. I'm not gonna play it because for some reason I don't bother with Wolfenstein. I should, because I'd probably like it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. You got to draw the line somewhere. I'll play Doom. That'll be my FPS I play. If you play too many, you get bogged down. It's the same reason I only play Sid Meier's Civilization 6 and 5 sometimes if I'm feeling a bit fancy, and I don't go in for like Stellaris or Europa Universalis or any of them. Okay, so I've got that, and then make it more complicated. Okay, good. Some delightful blacks. Elder Scrolls 6, they just sort of did a little kind of teaser for it. And also their mobile game, which actually intrigues me a bit. That seems like the sort of game I might one day accidentally download and get slightly hooked to for too long. But I don't really go in for mobile games so much. Particularly the sort of active ones like that. I like them to be passive. They also they teased the new game, didn't they? I want to say it was called Starpoint, but I don't think that was it. That might have been the Toys to Life one with Fox in it. It's Star something or other, but they didn't really. It's just a new IP. They didn't say anything about it, and it was too early for any actual information. So you can't really get too hyped about that, except for the fact that it's a new Bethesda thing, and they make great games. Particularly the RPG stuff. They're like one of the last holdouts of decent RPGs. And even they're kind of falling a bit. Right, how's that? Is that good? Yep. And then this clips onto here. Somehow. I now remember as well, Ubisoft, the reason I really like them is they got Beyond Good and Evil 2, which looks very, very intriguing. And to be honest, like the sort of game that's gonna like, it's got a fair amount of hype as is, and is gonna just build more and more as time goes on. I don't want to say like Watch Dogs, but maybe a little bit like Watch Dogs. Hopefully it'll be. I think it will be actually good in the end, though. Not really English the way I said that, but I'm going to stick with it. Okay, and now we attach some fastening points to this. Yep. I didn't watch the Sony panel. I watched the Xbox one. I didn't watch Sony. Why am I calling one Xbox and one Sony? Why not Microsoft? Why not PS4? It's a good question. Yeah, I didn't watch it because for Sony, I don't have a PS4, and that's all they release their stuff on. So it's kind of irrelevant to me. Like even though I'm intrigued by their stuff, and I will sort of catch knowledge on it. Spider-Man's the one that annoys me the most. That's one of them. It's like, it's not really. It's Marvel. Why are they sticking with one console? It's fine. It's fine. They're paying for it. They get whatever they want. Where does this go? Oh, just on top. Is it overhang or flat? Interesting. I put a piece in wrong. There we go. Now that all adds up. Okay. 2 of these on, 1 of these, which is there, and a long blue pipe. Yeah, so the Microsoft stuff, like Xbox games and that, they kind of also come out on PC. I don't fully know how it works. They have their Play Anywhere job, which means it's also released on Windows 10. So there's a solid chance that a lot of their stuff I'll be able to play on PC anyway. In theory, that's why I watch it, just to keep up to date with that. And you never know; they might have thrown out some info about HoloLens, which intrigues me, or some other weird hardware. I'm hoping eventually that they'll both go down the route of they'll stop making like altogether new consoles, and it'll be like mobile phones where there'll be a new one each year, and the last year's model will still work to play current games, but like say they'll have 3 on the go at once, so they'll bring in a new one and that one will drop off, so games won't support it anymore, and you sort of build up like that way. Because as a PC player, that would be really beneficial to me. As a console gamer, that would suck. It'd be horrendous. You'd never know when to upgrade. You'd be caught in a horrible cycle. But for a PC gamer, it'd be fine. You'd get better games more often. And by better, I mean, willing to juice your rig. Gears 5, that was one of their big ones, wasn't it? They were smart enough to make a Gears mobile game, but also then give you not 1 but 2 other Gears of War games afterwards. And they've gone down the Halo Wars route, haven't they? It's like, we'll give you okay, it's not an RTS, but it's tactical at least. I've picked this up like I need it. I don't think I do yet. I'm just building something separate entirely. It's new and exciting. It involves these black tubes. And 4 of these. Right, what else intrigued me about E3? Anything worth thinking about? I don't know. I don't think so. Oh yeah, I mean, obviously Nintendo. I haven't got to Nintendo. That's kind of the big one, isn't it? For me as a Nintendo fan. And it was pretty much all Smash. It was about a 40-minute presentation. I think it was 43 minutes in total. and about 20 odd minutes of that was devoted to Smash Ultimate, which is a good idea. Made sense. They did a great job of giving you a lot of information, but also no information. Like it's an all new game. But is that in the right place? Yes, because this goes off the edge. That's fine. Yeah, they gave you loads of new information, but like a few, but but not a lot. They told you some new characters and like the odd new stage, and then some returning all returning characters as it happens. I'm hoping what they'll do is they'll start off with that and like only a few new characters, and then DLC the new ones in afterwards, which is fine by me. But they haven't said like will there be single player mode? What other modes will there be? What other fancy shit are you gonna throw in? Right, I've got that, and now right. So this does go on. I was skipping a bit, and it was throwing me off. As skipping ahead in LEGO instructions should throw you off. So this goes through here, that through there. Good. Another one of these. I love using these big bits. It's very satisfying. Tidy. Yeah, so Smash was a big part of it. I'm kind of still holding out for a story mode. I'd like it if they went down the route that a lot of fighting games go, where you just get a short story for each character. Just like a kind of a fun nonsense affair would be fine by me. The way they brutally showed off that Waluigi wasn't a playable character as well was quite nice, because I know a lot of people wanted it, and they said, and here's how assist trophies will work, and they just show you Waluigi, and it's like, so he's definitely not a character, he's also an assist trophy, which is nice. Yeah, bring him in if you want, but he kind of needs his own game before he can be a character in that, because what would his moveset be? Tennis racket? All tennis rackets? Well, they'll do the ultimate troll and make him a DLC character later on. Or you have to have an amiibo for it to work. Aha! And they kind of also revealed that like they'd made minor changes to all the characters, and in my mind I was like, this is an excuse for more amiibos, isn't it? I don't collect amiibos, and I find I kind of like mocking people who do. Not mocking them, but like I enjoy their anguish, if you will, because a lot of people who collect them, it's like, I'll get the Smash Brothers ones because that's where they start, and then they might get complete sets for other games like Mario and Zelda. That's fine, and it's like, well, I don't care about Animal Crossing, so I will skip them, and Fire Emblem, they can be skipped. And then a new Smash comes out, and you're like, oh shit, new fucking amiibo for everyone. Okay, I've got this. Now what? It's very satisfying to hold this actually. It's got a good firmness to it. Alright, I'm back to decorations. Decorations require me to pick the pieces in advance before I put them on, lest I make a huge error. It's good use of lest there, I like that. Actually, kind of a minor announcement, but is actually the one I'm most excited about, is Super Mario Party on Switch. Because I'm hoping it is going to be a good Mario Party game. It didn't look... It looked like standard, so, you know, good. Although if you look at the total number of Mario Party games, good probably isn't standard by this point. Looking at you, Mario Party GBA. Yeah, they're doing quite cool stuff. They're putting it on the table and getting different board layouts and stuff, which is it's a nice idea. I like the idea of that. And I kind of need Switch games that I can play with non-gamers that aren't Mario Kart, because it's too easy. Mario Party, there's enough like shaftery and off-game skill involved, if you will. Planning, tactics, that sort of thing. So that intrigues me. That's good. Other than that, I'm struggling to think like what real sort of big announcements they actually had. I don't know that they had any. There's Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which I don't fully know what they really are yet. They're obviously not core Pokemon games, but they're still kind of RPG-esque, but they're not, like, they don't feel like full spin-off games either. It's a confusing time to be alive, because normally, in my mind, the system is, I pay attention to the core games and buy one every other game. That way you get loads of new stuff, but you're not bogged down with Pokemon every year and that. And I ignore most of the spin-off games, except Pokemon Conquest, because that's the best game ever made that no one's ever heard of. I joke a bit, but my playtime in Pokemon Conquest is ridiculous. Like, I'm talking multiple hundreds of hours. Like, if I were to go, I've been meaning to make a video out of this for a while now. If I go on my DS, it shows you on your game library, like, most played, and Pokemon Conquest is up there as ridiculously high. And this is the DS I've had for fucking ages. Like, I think I transferred my DSi across to 3DS, and then I've had like 2 or 3 different 3DSs. So I've had this console for like 10 years. So it's almost 10 years worth of play data, and still in all that time, it's like, yeah, this is the game you put the most time into. This, you've started playing it the most. It's like ridiculous. I don't know if it is actually the most, but it's definitely up there. It'll be one of my joke videos. It'll be my top 10 3DS games, but it'll literally be my top 10 by time, not by anything else. And therefore, due to logistics, probably won't count certain early titles. What did intrigue me in Super Smash Bros., they actually made mention of A Link Between Worlds, which I'm not saying it's a forgotten game, but it gives me hope that they may yet make future Zelda games in the 2D style. So imagine what they could do. Four Swords Adventure looked great and played great. Give me a Switch version of that. That would work, actually. Just give us that on Switch. That's ripe for a remake. Is that the only one they've never re-released? I don't think that came out on Wii U. Wii U, like, famously was a console where if you want to play Zelda, you get a Wii U because you can play a shit ton of Zelda on it. Okay, that's done. So now I take this, and I combine thusly. To give us this front end of the Falcon, quite possibly, almost. There's still, it looks like I'm about to make a piece that's entirely strengthening based. Or maybe not, actually, given that I thought it used the big studs, but it actually uses the tiny ones. Oh, they led off with some mech game, didn't they? That actually intrigued me. I kind of want a game where I'm a mech. Haven't had that for a while. That's one of those genres that it should be more popular than it is. I feel. And Octopath Traveler, which in my mind has been finished for months, but it started out as Project Octopath Traveler, and they were trying to come up with a new name for it for like 6 months, and they couldn't do it. They were like, name pending. What are we going to call this? And they just end up, it's like, fuck it, let's just leave it as Octopath Traveler. No one will question it at this point. Everyone's too used to it. So then they finally got the name down. It's like, well, guess we release it then. It's been sat finished here for bloody ages. And I can't tell if the art style is brilliant or hideous. I flip-flop so constantly looking at it. I don't know if I'm going to play it either. It's one of them games where I'll wait and see, not just review-wise what it gets, but honestly how much it costs, how long it is. I can't tell any of these things. Do you have to play it 8 times? Can you play it once and be done? Is it essentially like there's 8 different characters, and there's slight differences between them, but not huge. Or like, you know, there's his one character at one end and one at another, and the other 8 sort of fall in between them on how they play. Like, I know this isn't it, but like combat to non-combat, for example. Combat to support, maybe. I'm going to be the apothecary. Right, so I've made this. And now okay, this is right. I need to assemble these pieces before I even contemplate seeing where they go. Otherwise, I will make errors. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. Probably my biggest disappointment. No Borderlands 3. I'm pretty sure it was kind of said beforehand. It's like, yeah, we might be working on Borderlands 3, but it's not going to be at this E3. But I was still quietly optimistic, you know. So I don't pay attention to rumours enough to figure out what's real and what isn't. Right, I've got all the bits together now. I've just got to figure out where they all go. I think they're on this spectra. It's not as complicated as I initially thought. There's about 10 pieces to add, but they all kind of assemble into their own. I was going to use the term Voltron, but I don't watch Voltron, so I don't know how accurate that term would be. In my mind, I only know Voltron because people would say, yeah, and it's about these robots that combine together. A bit like Voltron or Power Rangers, and I'd always think, well, I don't know what Voltron is, but I know what Power Rangers is, so I probably know what Voltron is by extension. Turns out it might well be an anime. That's one thing I've never really watched, is particularly any giant robot-based anime. It's what I feel is, when a lot of people think Japan, that's what they think of, giant robots. And yet I've never watched any. Alright, so I've made that, and that goes on this way, on here. That's very pleasing. And this one goes here. Okay. If you pay close attention in, I'd guess, The Last Jedi, you'll see this detailing. Oh, I'm actually putting it on now. Right, so it goes like this, and it attaches back here to that. Okay. Don't think I'm going to do this from this far away. You bastard. Oh, great. I did do it, and then I ripped it apart. Okay, let's just... I can't get it off now. Okay, don't panic. You can rebuild. I don't know how it was built. Shit. I think it was just one of these pieces on top. How does it attach at the other end? It goes straight down and hooks in on here. I'm going to have to move this. It's too far away. And suddenly it's become very hot. Right, let's hook this end on first. And then, I see. Okay, this is actually quite simple where this... I should have put the front end on first. Although that's not as easy as I first thought. I should have put them in simultaneously by growing an additional set of limbs. Arms, I suppose, would be the most helpful. I just need something to prop this up, just for just for a few seconds, just a little. That's nowhere near it. That's far too flat. Perfect. Okay. Little secret for you. This is actually full up. It's got the SNES in it. I had to put it in there for a trick essentially, and I'm yet to remove it. Right. So now that doesn't fit. Why not? How does it look on the end? Okay. All right, let's grab that. I need to get these off. I need to pull them off with all my strength, apparently. But not too much strength, because you don't want to break anything. Right. That's okay. That's all solid. And this joint can't move. So why is that like that? What error have I made? It should look like that. Yep, definitely should. If I got the angle right, it slots in. It's fine. Okay, that's on now. I can remove the SNES Classic Mini, chop away. Oh yeah, they never announced like a new one of them either, Nintendo. They had Reggie appear. I was just thinking, where's Reggie these days? I haven't seen him for ages. And then they didn't. He announced the Pokemon Go Pokeball job, which I've already lost. And Christ, shit. Where the fuck did this come from? So the good thing about this, they pretty much always show the whole thing when you're putting big bits on. So if you accidentally knock something off, you haven't got to go back too far to figure out where it came from. Right, and now I've just got to make that again. Simple. Obviously I don't remember how to make it. That's what instructions are for. I recently saw a film for the first time. It was 2001, A Space Odyssey. I believe it's the 50th anniversary. It came out in the 60s. So yeah, it would be the 50th anniversary. So, and they were doing a special showing at the cinema. I don't know if it was remastered or non-remastered or remastered from the original or some weird combination thereof. It was something like that. But it was essentially the original film at the cinema. I don't really need to describe that. It's not a hard concept to grasp. It's a film at the cinema that came out before. But it was the first time I'd seen it, and I've read the book, weirdly, which normally I'm an advocate of you watch a film, then you read the book. This is the only time I've ever thought you really ought to read the book before you ever see this film. Not useful advice, because one is 50 years old and the other is 50-ish years old. They came out roughly the same time, as far as I'm aware. In fact, I think the bloke who wrote the book, was it Philip K. Dick? Might have been. One of those famous sci-fi writers, but I can't think of his name now. I want to say he's Scottish. He, at the same time, what's his face? With a beard. Made the film. Stanley Kubrick. He was also writing the screenplay. They'd chat about it, but they didn't want it to be exactly the same, apparently. So I watched this film. Not seen it before. What I have seen is a substantial amount of pop culture viewing of the past 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, I don't know. A good amount of time. You know, The Simpsons, that sort of thing. And if you've watched anything for long enough, you'll have probably seen them make reference to 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's one of those films that when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is what everything else was referencing. Now, obviously, I knew that. I knew before stuff like Hal in there as the computer that won't let Dave do what he wants to do, that sort of thing. But like, there were more levels to it than that. The music was a big one for me. If you've not seen the film, I mean, this won't really spoil the film because there's not really any story to it. But it's worth watching. But if you're gonna watch it, I'd say you pretty much have to watch it, if not in a cinema, at least in an environment of zero distractions. It's a heavy film to watch. If you have like a phone present in any fashion, or any kind of distraction, you won't watch the film because it's so heavy. There's no dialogue for like the first 20 odd minutes, and then there's no dialogue for the last 20 odd minutes, which is a hell of a thing. It's very more common in old films. You'll note this if you watch older films, that there's always a lot less dialogue. Dramatic panning is bigger. They'll allow, like, if someone's driving up to a house, they'll let you see them drive up to that fucking house. You know, there's no wasting film. Film is expensive. If you took the time to film something, you're gonna damn well show it. All right. I have vastly underestimated the need for small grey bits on this. I thought it would need one, so I found one. It's actually needed 3. But the effects are so good. Like, they really hold up. In particular, like all this shit they were doing in zero gravity just looked great. Just like really simple stuff, like people walking on circular things to walk around because they had shoes that would stick to the floor and stuff. And it was one of those films where I'd heard the joke that they hired Stanley Kubrick to fake the moon landing, or to fake the moon landing after seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey. But then after seeing it, I was like, I get why people think this, because this film came out before they landed on the moon. And it's like, wow, that looks too real in an odd fashion. And when I was watching it, I was kind of bored a lot of the time. It's quite a boring film. It's not a bad film. It is just quite boring. But then afterwards, I was like, oh, that was fantastic. I don't think I'll ever watch that again, but I would encourage others to watch it, certainly. A bit of a weird thing was the screening I was at, it had an intermission. As screenings used to do, they all used to have an intermission. This one it had an intermission, and it arrived at a very crucial scene. It was the bit when Hal it has been discovered as being not quite on their side, and he's eavesdropping on them by reading their lips in a very cool sort of understated scene. Just after that, it just faded to black, said intermission, and then there was a vibe in the cinema of, is this a real intermission, or is this just on the original like film and they've left it in, because it's also got kind of a music cue to it, so they're doing that, but they're going to cut out the bit where there's a 15-minute intermission. And then the lights came up, so it was very clearly an actual intermission, and I did not want that, because in a film with pacing quite as slow as 2001, the last thing I needed was 15 minutes to think about going to get a drink. I didn't, and I regretted it. They didn't even come round with an ice cream cart. That's what they're meant to do. There's nothing more alluring at that point in time in life than a woman with a big tray of ice creams. You'd pay any amount of money at that point. Yeah, it'd be nice if they were free, but that's not how life works. I don't want to go on there. There we go. So it's now added to the number of Kubrick films I've seen. I want to say it's as much as doubled the number, because I reckon I've only seen 2 in total. I think he did Doctor Strangelove. I don't know if that's true or not, though. In my head he did, but I'm not certain of it. Either way, I've seen Doctor Strangelove. And that's a great film. That actually really holds up. It's very funny. It's a very good film. You do realise when you watch these sort of old classic films like that, how a lot of like modern stuff is like, is it a homage, or have you just straight up stolen that from these other films? Okay, so that's that done. Is that good? And I'd actually watched this. I'd watched it before I filmed the last one of these, and it was like on my things I thought I ought to talk about, and I plumb forgot, which is weird because it was all I could think about for a good few days afterwards. There it is. Starting to panic. I couldn't remember where anything went there for a minute. I think I'm dying. Of first, obviously. I skipped over that bit, but that was the implication. Got them, got that, yeah. Okay, almost ready to begin. I just need what I've already put on. That's fine. Funnily enough, this is the exact point that last week's video finished, was when I was putting on this first bit of detailing. And I've no idea of the timer, but it may well go off soon. However, I've had a lot of interruptions, so I'm going to go on past that timer to make the video roughly an hour, because I feel committed to that timescape. And the few viewers I do have of these, I feel, you'll probably use them for a set amount of time. Like, I don't know, you'll do an hour on the treadmill, and this will keep you going at a slow walking pace. Not too fast, but not too slow either. Well, maybe it would be too slow. I'm lost. Okay, I'm found. Got it. Back to 2001. So it's a bit of the start of Apes, where they figure out how to use tools, essentially due to the influence of the monolith. I've got 2 of these. I'm only supposed to have 1. Okay, that's good. Nearly panicked. And apparently this film came out, if not the same year, like within the same 1 or 2 years away from Planet of the Apes. And they joke and say that Planet of the Apes won the Oscar for visual effects only because no one realised that in 2001 they weren't real apes. That's how good they looked in that. Like, I was watching it, I was like, bloody hell, that's an impressive level of just everything. Yep. Christ. Scared the shit out of me. Right, we're now into bonus time. I'm going to add an additional 12 minutes, and that second timer will also scare me more than likely. How much can I get through in 12 minutes? Not a lot, honestly. The pace this goes at is slow and methodical, because you don't want to make errors. Particularly because when I pick these bits up to put in, I try and arrange them such that they're in the order that's shown on the page, which is very satisfying, but it does waste a certain amount of time. A lot. It wastes a lot of time. In the long run, it's a positive though, so it's worth doing. The great saga of me wanting to play Don't Starve is reaching its epic conclusion today. The game is on sale on Steam for the lowest price it's ever been. It's about £5 for the complete, like, Don't Starve Alone version, which is the single player version of the game. So I feel I may finally pull the trigger on that. But even now I'm skeptical. Frankly, it's no amount of money, but at the same time I'm thinking, do I have time to play it? And the answer will likely be yes, because I'll regret it otherwise. You never know. It might not come down to that price again. And the key factor is I feel it's unlikely to go lower. Right. Building out this edge first. Tidy. I might not even like the game. I even went for a bit of a decision. I was like, do I want this on PC or Switch? And the thing that took me down, I thought, I bet the Switch version is like the slightly ropier version of it. So I did one search, like which is better, and I went with PC's always better, basically. It was kind of a pointless search, wasn't it? It's never in doubt. Well, I mean, yeah, there were a lot of older PC ports of console games were crap, but they were still somehow better. Better doesn't mean better for everyone. Podcast I'm listening to has a lot of adverts for The Handmaid's Tale, which I can't tell why anyone watches it. It looks like an incredibly depressing show. But that's one of the taglines in it. It's something like that. It's like, better doesn't mean better for everyone. See, I put these on, and I'm pretty certain they're too long. I think they're supposed to be these shorter models, which now that I've found them and clearly exist, I must assume that these are the ones. I have a heavy day food-wise today. I had steak for lunch. I had this bit of steak that needed eating, and it was like, well, dinner's out of the question. I have to have it for lunch. So I cooked it with, what I do for steak is just olive oil, salt and pepper, nothing else. Throw it on a high heat, blacken the outside. You want it raw in the middle. So that's my ideal. It's burnt on the outside, raw in the middle. I did that. I did it with some mushrooms, sautéed in a bit of butter and Lea & Perrins sauce, which is the best way to do mushrooms. That's just that on its own. It's a great meal. It's almost healthy. It might not be great for your heart, or it might be, but no one's sure if butter's something you want or not, really. It was good though. The only try, it's not overly filling though, but I believe I've got a pub dinner scheduled in shortly after I finish this, so it's gonna be a hearty one. I'd like to think I've earned it, but I haven't. Okay, that goes in there. I'm now realising a lot of this is actually symmetrical, but sort of not. But it's not asymmetric either. There's an amount of symmetry in there that isn't zero. That takes me back to the days of my degree, chemistry degree, a significant early portion of which was learning about symmetry, which is intriguing as a thing. Apparently it's quite important. Both the most interesting and least interesting part of my history is the surprising fact that I hold a degree in chemistry and do nothing with it ever. Okay, alright, there we go. This is going to be good now. This is just a whole bunch of shit going straight on. Am I rushing it? Maybe. You know, after this, I don't want to speak too soon, but I think that's a lot of like structure done, and we're going to start doing outer walls. I don't want to speak too soon, but it might well be the case. That'll be an exciting time to be alive. Also, a huge factor of E3, going back to that, everything's coming out in February of next year. Like, nearly everything that gave a release date or month seemed to be February of next year. There are a couple like this year. Most of the ones that were next year were all February. And I wonder if that's like some weird agreement they all came to where it was like, it's going to be Q1 of next year. Let's not just say Q1 of next year or early next year, 2019. Let's say February, and that way if anyone wants to move, they can, but we're all like on the same page going in. It's just very odd. You know most of those aren't going to stick to it. Although we did have... it was the day Mario Odyssey came out. There was a bunch of big releases, weren't there? I can't really remember what any of them are, though. Mario Odyssey was definitely one of them. I think there was it Assassin's Creed? I think Stranger Things Season 2 might have come out that day. But I remember it being like a busy time for like all media, apparently. Was there a big film out as well? That's bugging me that I can't remember. Earlier on, I rushed it and I put something in the wrong place. It is not to be understated how useful these are. They really come into their own on these bigger sets. You can make do on the smaller ones because you can get purchase in different ways, but on these where you don't want to be picking stuff up, it's a definite lifesaver. If there were a fire and it was a choice between saving one of those and a member of the family, I'd have to pause and consider it. I'd probably do both because this is tiny and it would easily fit in my pocket and probably won't even burn that well. Also, like from where I sleep to a door, I am likely to come past this, but not anyone in my family. So that's, you know, I'm taking away from their value, but also adding to my humanity there. Right, so there's that. That goes there. This goes next to it. I'm not. I think I picked up all the pieces for this section, but I've kind of lost confidence in that decision. I think I've got it correct though. What I like is when they made the Millennium Falcon, they were probably not overly meticulous in a lot of these details. And then later on in life, someone's had to make this and they've had to pore over old film with a fine-tooth comb. An analogy that makes no sense now that I've said it aloud, to get everything sort of as close to correct as possible while still being Lego. Actually, I remember Kevin Smith telling that story about the jacket he wears in like in Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob, but it's Silent Bob's jacket, the green jacket, how he got it from like a thrift store, and he spent like no time at all getting it. It was just like walk in, it's like that'll do. I'll just turn it. I had it right the first time. It's like yeah, that'll do. Moved on with his life, made the film, whatever. And years later, when they were doing more, it was like I think they had the original, but going in there like we can't just do it with one jacket. We need more than one. We need at least a few. And they couldn't buy one, so they had to make it. And to have it made, like custom made, was ridiculous. So it ended up being like the most expensive prop on the film was his jacket, and it's like a piece of shit jacket. Which is also a joke in Frasier when he accidentally destroys his dad's chair, so he gets it replaced by a series of master craftsmen, and it turns out to be the most expensive item of furniture he owns, and it's hideous. But apparently very comfortable. Right, that is almost correct. Apparently there's 2 of these things and I've only put 1 on. There we are. That looked ridiculous if I had not put that on. You wouldn't call it a Falcon at all. You'd call it the 1999 Kestrel. Kessel sounds like Kestrel. Could that be related? Oh yeah. I did set that timer for 20 minutes and it's about to go off. I suddenly panicked that I hadn't actually done it. So that was, I've got it down as episode 10. Hopefully that's not setting off anyone's Siri, which apparently when I say Falcon 8 or whatever, that can do it, which I'm impressed by. Oh, there it was. Yeah, thanks for watching. Join me next time when I put on the second one of these things. I want to call it a fin, but it's not really a fin, is it? Yep, I'll see you then.